Good evening, everyone. Call this meeting to order. This is the Mayor and Council final reading and adoption of the FY 2017 budget. Do I hear a motion to approve, to adopt the agenda as written?
Amend it for what? Oh, we got a different one? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Move to
Sorry.
add item 5 to the agenda
Okay, I've got a motion to amend the agenda to add item 5.
and approve it as.
Do I hear a second? Second, all in favor? All opposed? Unanimous. Or all opposed? That's right, you're not sworn in yet. Good point.
Go ahead.
You're not sworn in yet.
Just for fun.
Okay, under new business, the first item is, do we know if, is your person about here? We know? Okay. That's not who I'm talking about. Okay. First item of business is oath of office of our newly elected Ward 4 councilperson, Councilman-elect Gil McDougall, and he will be sworn in by Judge Anna Perry.
Gil McDougall, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will and truly perform the duties of council member Ward 4 of the city of Villa Rica, Georgia, and that you will support and defend the charter thereof, as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia and of the United States of America? You further swear that you are not the holder of any public money due this state unaccounted for, and that you are not the holder of any office or trust under the government of the United States or any other state or any foreign state by which the laws of this state you are prohibited from holding, and that you are otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia, and will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and if elected by any circuit or district, that you have been a resident thereof for the time required by the Constitution and laws of this state, so help you God.
I do.
I got it.
Don't make an eggs like you used to do it.
Okay. Want to do the family anyway?
My oldest son didn't make it.
Anybody else want to? All right. So 1, 2, 3, say cheese.
Cheese.
Say cheese again.
Cheese again.
In the paparazzi mode.
Lord have mercy, that's enough. He had to do that because he was gonna vote when I was 9. Anybody else who wants to take a picture? Sorry. Okay.
Actually, I've already taken 20. Thank you. Anybody else? I turned the Right.
Mr. Mayor, before she gets out of here, Judge Perry hadn't been here before, so I just wanted to make sure we introduced her to the crowd. She is one of the magistrate court judges here in Carroll County, handling all of our small claims and warrants and everything, so thank you for being here.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Judge Perry. Well, let me be the first to congratulate Ward 4.
Already have.
Oh, you've already? Well, officially, let me be the first to congratulate Councilman Gil McDougall, Ward 4. and look forward to working with you up here as we move forward with the city's business. And I think it'd be appropriate at this time for me to allow you to have any time to say some things that you'd like to say. So turn your little mic on and go to town.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight to do this. A lot of people work very hard, and I appreciate that. And my family and anybody who's been through these knows, as all these folks do, that elections are hard, and they're really hard on family. So I appreciate everybody and friends. A lot of folks are looking at me thinking, don't leave me out. But I'm excited to be up here. I look forward to working with each and every one of these individuals, and I'm just ready to get to work. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. All right, item number 2, proposed 2017 City Council meeting calendar. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor and Council, before you is the proposed 2017 meeting schedule. The city sets its monthly meetings at the first Tuesday of the month unless otherwise advertised. So you'll see on the proposal, the first monthly meeting of January highlighted in yellow. That's because the New Year's Day is observed on the 2nd, and in order to give sufficient time for the work session, the staff is proposing doing the monthly meeting on the 10th. Traditionally, you'll do the work session the Thursday prior. So, of course, this is also a slight alter of the budget. Traditionally, the council usually has one alteration of its annual calendar. So you have the proposal before you. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Do I hear a motion that we accept the meeting calendar for this year as presented?
For next year,
Okay.
yeah. So moved.
Next year.
Second.
We have a move and a second. All in favor? Unanimous. Gil, that's your first vote.
That is my first.
That's your first vote.
Wouldn't you know it'd be a calendar?
Calendar vote.
David, don't we have 12 holidays for the city?
What are the other two? Floating? I see
It could be that Thanksgiving and Christmas are both 2 days, holidays.
2, 3,
It could be.
Oh, yeah.
4, 5.
Thanksgiving's on.
Well, and New Year's.
No, it's 2 days. Always has
That's
been.
up here. 1, 2,
Oh, I see it now, yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
23 and 24 for Thanksgiving, 24, 25.
I'd count 12 dates on here.
Insert Alabama Crimson Tide here.
Championship Day, huh?
Roll Tide.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Item 3, year-end compensation adjustment for regular full-time and part-time employees, and I think that should be permanent part-time employees. Mr. City Attorney?
Yeah, asked that this be brought back up just so that we'd have some clarification and that the city staff would be sure in what their direction was on this. I sent a memo that I think you've seen that said what my interpretation of what I think you did last time was, but just to be sure, I thought it would be appropriate to have the council confirm that the Christmas bonus or payment that you were making to the city staff was to either be made as a gross payment or a net payment. And I asked that the facts be put in front of you so you could confirm it one way or the other. Maybe it was clear to everybody, but I don't think so.
I think the way it ought to be handled is we give certain groups $500 checks and the others get $250 checks, and they be handed out before Christmas. And set in a separate envelope.
Again, that's right, but the direction that I think the staff needs is to know, as you can see on here is, on the, just to make it perfectly clear, is that whether or not that full-time employee that's been here for 20 years is going to get a check for $500 or going to get a check for $306.75.
Now, that's whether it's that's when it's written at a separate check, not put in with a paycheck,
Right.
correct? If it's just
Oh, it'll
written in
be
a separate check?
It'd be a check of 500, and then they have to declare it on their taxes next year, for this year.
Well, but the city also would be paying the taxes on it,
Does that mean if we give them a $500 check, we're paying the taxes?
yes.
What does that amount to?
I will say that I did check also, and the payment last year, it was, the council awarded $300 to full-time employees and 100, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong about this, but it was a net payment last year of a different sum of money. The city paid the taxes on it last year.
What was last year's? Because I don't recall right offhand.
$300.
For everybody?
Full-time employees.
And nothing for permanent
I
part-time?
think it was 100.
100 for permanent part-time.
I didn't vote on this originally, but my feeling on this is that they have a net check of whatever we decided on, $500 or $250. I need this monitor right here. I can barely see. So I don't know. That's my feeling on it. Is it on?
I
Oh, no, I was going to offer to swap spaces with you.
So you're now wanting to know if we want to do it just the 500 or take the taxes out? Is that what?
That's correct.
I don't understand.
Again, I'd like to be sure that we all are on the same page, that the city is going to issue a check to that full-time, long-term employee for either $500, and we're going to pay the taxes on it, or we're going to take the taxes out of the $500 so they get the employee will get a reduced amount. I mean, it's
I
just a
guess-
choice, and y'all have
I
to
guess
make
I don't
it.
really understand if you hand them a $500 check and next year when they do the taxes for 2016, they're going to have to add that into their, it's going to show up in their W-2.
It's required to, yes.
Yeah, it will be, but we have to send in our matching amount also. I mean, and the question is, it will show up and they will have to pay taxes on it.
Yeah?
If you give them a check for, now, I don't know, David, you may know this more than I do, but if we say it's a $500 check and we give them a check for $306.75, they're still going to be paying taxes on it again.
If we are, again, it's net versus gross. So
Right.
if the council says, give a full-time employee $500, then the check will say $500, give or take $5, because we have to do the calculations. And then we are actually having a line item. So we will be actually showing the full amount on the check for all taxes, but the actual physical amount that they will have a takeaway would either be that 500 or that 250, if that's the will of the council.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, it would be a separate check. When they file their taxes, they would have to file not only their paycheck, whatever their total earnings for the year, but also that $500. So they're still paying taxes. The difference is they're getting a check in the full amount of $500 just at Christmas, as opposed to getting whatever their amount would be after taxes were taken out.
No, sir. Let me step back. Okay. I'm going to throw out a hypothetical number, okay? And because I can't run all the fancy numbers here. But let's say that the will of the council is to give, and I'll just say regular full-time employees, $500. Then when we run it, the check actually is cut for a theoretical $600. We then back out all of the taxes, the city would be paying it, so that their actual take-home net is $500.
Gotcha.
So the only thing that they would have to put in their bank account. The alternative is we cut $500, we don't pay the taxes, we have to take all those taxes out up front, and then they roughly put about $306 in their bank. So that's the difference. And that's why, that lies the questions and the confusion, that we thought it was important enough to bring back so that the whole council was on the same page and understood. And there was 2 council members that had asked to see the numbers, and I wanted to make sure that you saw the numbers.
So what has been done in the past is in this case, $500 check would be written to the employee.
Last year, they got if you said give them X, they got X. They didn't get less than that. We definitely did it different last year. So we want to make sure that we're following the council's will as to exactly what you want. I'd be remiss, I don't want to shoot for the moon here, but I would really like to beg upon the council not to leave any employees out. I know we've got some below 6 months, but I'd like to come to some compromise. They have given some service to the city, but just know that once you resolve that, I still would like to ask for that, since the little window's open here. You can shoot me down, and that's okay, but I need to ask.
Yeah, those are 2 separate issues,
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
Well, how did you do it last year? Because I don't understand. If you hand them a $500 check,
Last year,
$500.
yeah, last year we actually gave them cash in envelopes and had them sign for the disbursement. So there was actually a checks and balances and internal control, so that we made sure that every employee that was full-time got the 300 and the part-time got 100. The accountants have said, don't do that this year.
Oh, is that why? Okay,
So, yeah, because we had to shore up.
yeah. This may not win me favors with the employees, but I think the idea of writing the check and allowing the taxes to be paid out of it by the employee, especially when you even consider the amounts compared to last year, and the fact that since then we have been doing, well, we started the year prior about making sure our pay parity was good with all our police officers. Then we started bringing our other employees up to pay parity so that we're paying them better. And that's my goal, that we do that we reward them with a good paycheck throughout the year. So that's where I am on that. If you want an answer on the other one, under 6 months, I just have a hard time giving somebody who's just been here under 6 months the same thing that we're giving people that have been here for quite a while.
Let's take them one at a time, though.
Okay.
So,
Well,
I'm-
sorry, already did that.
I like just handing them a $500 check, and it gets added into their total for the year when they get the W-2, and that's when, to me, the taxes are going to have to get paid. The government's going to take their taxes, but I think we ought to just hand, in an envelope, give them a check $500 or $250.
Well, again, that's a little bit confusing, though, because
How is that confusing? You write a check and it says 500 on it. They walk away, they cash it, and they get 500.
because we do, if we're going to give them that check, we need to be withholding money, the taxes out of that. Otherwise, you're just shifting the burden to the employee to come up with that money at the end of the year, and we're required to withhold it. I mean, Councilman McPherson, your motion, it sounded like to me, it wasn't a motion, but if you were going to make it, it was that you adopt option B as set forth on the
Where's option B?
calculation that had been presented, and that would result in a bonus of $500 per full-time employee being paid, but then the withholding tax would be taken out of that.
Yes.
Okay,
Was that a motion?
is that a motion?
Well, I didn't know if there needed to be further discussion.
well, we can discuss it if we get a motion in a second. We can still have further
Make a
discussion.
motion to go with Plan B.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to go with Plan B. Discussion.
Well, since we've already adopted paying them $500 at the last council meeting, I think the question now should be is, when are they gonna pay the taxes?
We have not cut the checks, knowing that this was coming back to council. We plan to do the special run tomorrow, and I understand the checks will be here on Monday.
And under this motion, the employee would be being paid $500, but they would be having the withholding tax taken out of that so that they would receive an actual check of, under this example, $306.
So it's a gross check of 500 and
Yes.
the net is less.
A gross
'cause you
payment of
Take stuff out.
wages of 500 with a net amount of 306.
So we just throw the motion away, or what we did last council meeting, we just throw that away?
This would be a reconsideration, sir.
That's the problem, was it wasn't clear as to exactly what you did do
How to handle it.
at the last meeting.
How to handle taxes.
No, it was very clear how to handle taxes last meeting. It was stated. But go ahead.
Further discussion?
How did you feel it was, Berlin, stated? We didn't even talk about the taxes.
Yeah, we did, because I made a statement that, you know, the people here was going to be able to actually go in and redo their dependents at 10, which normally takes place on things like this. And at the end of the year, adjust it back to what it was. I asked that we give these people $500, and for full-time people, the other ones will get $250. And the question come about is, when are you going to take taxes out of that? And my point was, no, they're going to get $500, and we'll worry about the taxes when, well, like we did last year, of paying the taxes out of a fund that we found money for.
We're not doing it the same as last year.
Yeah, we're not giving cash.
Well, this cash or check, either one, still got to pay taxes out of it, and, you know, the question is, does the city pay the taxes, or you want the employees pay the taxes? It all comes out to $500.
Further discussion? Okay, if not, call the question. All in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, all opposed? Motion carries 3-2. Item 4, ordinance. This is an ordinance of adopting the city budget for fiscal year 2017 for the city of Villa Rica, to repeal conflicting ordinances, to provide an effective date, and for other purposes. And we have met all the requirements, and I'll read those into the record. The first reading of the budget for 2017 was November the 1st, 2016. The public hearing number 1 was November the 1st, 2016. Finance Committee workshop was October the 24th, 2016. Finance Committee workshop 2 was November the 2nd. Budget workshop was November the 10th. The second reading of the budget was November the 29th. The public hearing number 2 was November the 29th. The third reading was December the 1st. And the final reading and adoption is tonight. Ladies and gentlemen. And silence filled the room.
Okay. The council has put together a list of things we want to change the budget. You can't hear me? I'm not going to get closer. We have some things, some adjustments to the budget we'd like to do before we adopt it, so I don't think we can adopt the budget tonight, because these things have not been implemented yet.
Since the council member from Ward 4 and the mayor has not really had appropriate time to look over the budget and have their input and things of that nature, I wouldn't have a problem with postponing the final reading of the budget.
Or the adoption.
Well, we have to have a reading of it, I think, and then we'll adopt it till February the 2nd, which is the
Work session. That's the day of our work session. So So you want to do it as a call meeting just prior to the work session?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, is that a motion?
Certainly.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to delay approval of the budget till the next work session, the February 2nd work session, 2017. Discussion. And my understanding is that between now and then, we will have discussions. We will have a budget workshop with the city manager and discuss the items that we have issues with. Is that correct? Okay, have a motion and a second. Further discussion? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, if I could interject also, just as a cautionary measure here, while this matter is still being considered to be decided on February the 2nd, I want to remind the council and urge you, it's okay to talk one-on-one between yourselves concerning budgetary type issues, but I want to remind you that if you reach any type of an agreement amongst everybody about it, that can only be done in an open meeting. So there are no agreements about anything unless it's done in an open meeting.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, you had stated that the date set was February 2nd, which is a work session. Is that the date the council wants? You had said the word prior, so I want to make sure that the Madam Clerk, we can schedule a proper budget workshop. Is it the will of the council to have that on the 2nd?
We would need a workshop before that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we need the workshop, before the 2nd. That's the way I understand the motion, that's when we would.
We need a workshop in January.
Okay, so do you want a voting meeting as well as a called special on the 2nd?
Ladies and gentlemen, your desire.
I think if we're
As
going
in
to,
do the work session prior, is that what you're saying?
Well, what I heard was that they wanted, the council wants to do the adoption on the 2nd, and I heard the word have a work session prior. So that means that you have a work session on the 2nd, so staff would also advertise a special called meeting in addition to the work session on the 2nd, and then we would have to schedule a budget workshop in advance of that date, and then of course you would have your normal monthly meeting on the 7th.
that means sometime in January, we'd need our budget workshop. If we're going to approve it on the 2nd, we need a budget workshop in January.
I'll be back on the 25th.
So, all right, so if I'm understanding that is the will of the council, then we'll have the city clerk survey the council, and we'll get that meeting set up for you. So there'll be a workshop in advance of the February 2nd meeting, and then we'll also advertise the 2nd as a called special, so you'll have 2 meetings on that day. You only get paid for one, but there'll be 2.
And since Councilwoman McPherson is going to be out of town until the 25th, is that correct?
Correct.
So we can have
I
it
would
on-
hope that we would certainly make it where, we'd have the entire council here.
We can make it on the 26th workshop. That's a Thursday.
Isn't that that's our work session, isn't it?
Nope, our work session is not
So if I look at this.
till February the 2nd, so that's in January. January 26th is not a workshop.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I sent an email today asking if you could do the council.
Retreat.
Speak into the mic.
Retreat.
26 and 27.
Is that the day for the retreat?
Well, we haven't said it. I'm waiting to hear from all of you. I sent it out today.
Yeah, last year we did it on a Friday and a Saturday.
That would only leave us
That would
about,
be,
These dates, I chose.
that'd be the 27, 28, right? Am I looking at I'm sorry, no, wait.
Is that a
Yeah.
Thursday and a Friday?
yeah, 26, 27.
You sent it out with a Thursday and a Friday? Okay.
If we have that, then it leaves us the 30th and 31st to work on the budget. Those are the 1st of February. Those are the days that are still open after that, before we approve it on the 2nd of February.
For logistics, as a counter proposal, I mean, why not do the budget workshop on the 2nd and do your adoption on the 7th? At least it gives you some breathing room, because in between there, at the end of January, you got Mayor's Day Conference, and then you bump right against the potential retreat, and then you would actually come back, and somewhere in between, you're going to have a meeting, decide any of the local legislation that you want to seek. You also, because of the senior exemption, so you only have a short window to accomplish a lot.
So since we had a motion and a second, and I guess we'll have to, David,
Let me,
we would have to rescind that motion and second, and
You can withdraw the motion.
I'm going to recall my second so we can work out the true date here.
Leslie, you made the motion, I believe, didn't you?
We got to come up with a date.
Did I? It's just too much
Okay.
Christmas going on or something.
I think David made it, that's a good observation. I think that gives us a couple of days too, for council, for the staff to put together the budget. So, I would certainly entertain the idea that we would have our budget workshop on the 2nd, and that we would have the budget adoption on the 7th, which is 5 days later. I would entertain that motion.
That give you plenty of time to get it off with after we make changes to it, okay? I'll make
Anybody
that,
got any reason why we shouldn't?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Councilman Carter made the motion. Do I hear a second? Second. Councilman McDougal made the second. All in favor? All opposed? Coach,
What was that?
was that for or against?
That was
Four.
Second would be
abstain.
Unanimous.
second would be the work session.
Okay, and I don't know how y'all want to handle this, but we,
Regular meeting.
the city manager asked us something, and I forgot about it, and I don't know who else did, but he had asked us to look at as far as item number 3, looking at those employees that have been here less than 6 months. I don't know if how we need to do that officially, but I did miss that, so.
No, I think you can go back to it. That was,
Okay.
From my suggestion is, we've recruited, they're good, solid employees. They're, we don't have any disciplinary issues with them, otherwise they wouldn't be with us. So I'm willing to compromise. I'd like to be able to, I'll throw out a figure and you guys can shoot me down. If I take the full time and cut it in half, at least it's $250 and they get something.
Okay, I'll go ahead and ask this question because I know somebody's thinking about it. I know I am. We had said in the last council meeting that the only way they would get these bonuses is if they had received an evaluation.
Correct.
That would not be the case for somebody that had been here less than 6 months, correct?
That's correct.
And if they stay with the city for over a year, they will get a bonus next year if we decide to, not a bonus,
A YECA.
yeah,
A what?
Year-end compensation.
year-end
Yeah.
compensation.
Well, that was why we set the 6-month, you asked for us to set a time, and we set it at 6 months.
Well,
Because
it
that
was
the evaluation
based
time.
on a council member that put a stipulation. We didn't have a stipulation last year, so, I was just being respectful to the council members' wishes, which the council went along with, which was they had to be attached to an appraisal. But quite frankly, the employee would not be on staff if they weren't going to get an acceptable appraisal anyway. We just don't. We're not going to hold on to them if they're not performing.
What's our probationary period?
6 months.
Well, that's why we set it at 6 months, quite frankly.
Bingo, okay. I'm sorry, it just seemed clear to me, but.
Well, I guess, my only problem with it would be, if you've been here a month, would you still be able to, because you say, if we've kept you a month, we're going to keep you, and that's not necessarily the case. So, if you made it anything less than 6 months,
No evaluation.
So how about we prorate it?
How many people are you talking about?
There is on that sheet, sir, let's see, our CFO working with HR. Let's see, there are 17 employees, 12 full-time and 5 part-time that have been employed by the city less than 6 months.
Well, we want an evaluation, so it takes 6 months to get one, so I'm sticking with the 6-month thing.
I feel the same.
Okay, doesn't take a vote if that's the will of the council.
Okay, so I've got a motion by Councilman Carter to leave it at 6 months.
No, it doesn't require, I mean,
Oh, I thought you said it did require.
No, it does not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Change.
no, unless you want to consider it.
Okay.
Had to ask.
All right. Moving along. Okay. This is an informational only segment. Be no discussion, no vote taken by the council, no public comment at this time. But City Manager David and I met with Norfolk Southern yesterday. And so this was the notes that we took, the summary of that meeting. The main thing is the Chief Street rail grade crossing will remain open to vehicular traffic. The City Council will be asked to raise the fine to $1,000 for any motorist failing to obey traffic control signage at any of the city's rail grade crossings. So this applies to not only Chief Street, but all of our rail grade crossings. Expansion of the railroad park from the thruway stop at Main Street and Highway 61 east to Carroll Road. The expanding park would include gateway signage at Main Street and 61 as part of the adopted downtown master plan. City will develop a landscape plan in cooperation with Norfolk Southern that adheres to the railroad's safety guidelines while preserving the aesthetic beauty and function of the expanded railroad park. That's anything below 12 inches. That's the maximum height. The city will transplant to the new library as much vegetation as can be saved from the existing railroad park, thereby enhancing the gateway to the new facility on Dallas Highway. City will preserve all existing decorative lighting, fencing, and boulders in the railroad park. The city will install removable fencing similar to what exists now, but that can be easily moved when the railroad needs to conduct maintenance within the park. Last time it was, stationary, so they had to basically tear it apart. The city will engage an arborist to determine if the mulberry tree west of Chief Street can be relocated elsewhere in the community. Norfolk Southern will remove at its expense all vegetation above 1 foot between Chief Street and Jones Street rail grade crossings for line of sight safety reasons, and the dogwood trees on the south side of the tracks closest to East Montgomery Street. Norfolk Southern and the city will engage in discussions toward a future pedestrian/golf cart tunnel that will bridge the central downtown business district on both sides of the railroad. And that's probably the most significant thing I think that came out of that, and other than the saving Chief Street. And a master plan for the expanded railroad park to include all the elements will be presented during a public presentation in early 2017. I thought it was a very productive meeting. On both, they were very receptive, listened to us, and we listened to them. And lo and behold, today, early this morning, the truck showed up, so they are ready to move forward. And I believe the homeowners west of Jones Street have already been contacted about the clearing, which will take place starting Monday. Is that correct? Tomorrow. Okay.
Monday is when they plan to start. But I put off nothing. They're here, but Monday is supposedly cutting day.
Okay. Any other business that we need to decide, that we need to amend it? Well, we've already done that, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Have a motion, second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Some of those